So today I want to talk about probably one of the most memorable Pokemon battles of all time that a lot of you guys probably had the opportunity to experience. And if you guys haven't had the opportunity to experience this battle yet, go back and experience this battle because it's one of my favorite Pokemon battles of all time. And what I'm referring to is the battle with Trainer Red in Pokemon Gold, because when you talk about all of the memorable Pokemon battles within the Pokemon series, that's usually the battle that gets brought up mostly because it's just so memorable just based on the experience itself. Because you gotta remember, this was the trainer that you played as back in the Kanto games. So knowing how in the next generation you come across this character again and you're actually competing against him is actually very interesting, and it just makes a very fun battle overall, just going up against this guy, because he's pretty much like the final boss of the game to truly prove that you are the greatest Pokemon master of all time just by beating him alone. And I just wanted to take the time today to just talk about this Pokemon battle, like just talk about the overall experience, and also just to share my overall experience with you guys as well. So if you guys have anything you want to say when it comes to this battle as well, when it comes to your own personal experience, be sure to let me know, as always, in the comment section down below. So the first thing I do want to do, and I don't necessarily need to do it, but I still want to do it anyway, so we get familiar with the character, just in case there's some people that forgot, which, like I said, I don't think you guys have. But I want to talk about Red, because Red is one of the most popular Pokemon characters of all time. I mean, I was very happy when Red had his own little special when it came to the Pokemon Legends series. That's probably like my favorite spin-off when it comes to the Pokemon specials that we get all the time. I absolutely loved Pokemon Legends, which we'll probably end up making videos on that in the near future. But I really love Red, and I just want to take some time to talk about his character really quick. So like I said, Trainer Red is one of the most iconic figures within the Pokemon universe. He might actually be one of the most iconic figures in the Pokemon universe when it just comes to trainers alone. And he was first introduced to us as the protagonist in the original Pokemon Red and Blue games, and in Pokemon Gold, us as the players were surprised and excited to find him as the ultimate secret boss, just waiting silently at the peak of Mount Silver. And Red's legacy as the hero of Kanto just makes this encounter a nostalgia and thrilling experience, just cementing his status as a legendary Pokemon trainer. Because the way that I saw Red, like when I was getting into the Johto series for the very first time, which I didn't have the opportunity to play Pokemon Gold all those years ago, but I did play Pokemon HeartGold and soulsilver. But when I came across him for the very first time, I didn't get spoiled on this, thankfully, because this is probably one of my favorite memorable experiences when it comes to Pokemon ever. But I remember playing through those games and I'm trying to discover, different parts of the map. And I'm like, okay, I'm going through this mountain and everything. I'm going to see what there is at the top. And then when I go to the top, I just see Red. He's just chilling there, not making a sound. He's very silent. And I'm like, holy shit, am I actually going to go up against Trainer Red? Like, am I actually going to have a Pokemon battle with this guy? And it's almost like you can feel the aura of the character, like when you're coming in contact with him for the very first time. Like, you could actually feel the aura. Like, I still remember as a kid, I was playing my DS and I just felt the aura of Red just there, not doing anything, like I mentioned. And it just puts me in a place where I'm like, holy crap, this is actually happening. And it was a very memorable experience back then when I came across him for the very first time when I was playing Pokemon HeartGold and soulsilver. So now I want to talk about like the kind of Pokemon that Red had, because when I came across Red at first, I didn't really know what Pokemon he had on hand. Like, I had a feeling, considering how iconic Pikachu is, I had a feeling he was going to have a Pikachu and a Charizard, but I didn't really know what other Pokemon he would really have in his arsenal. So when I went up against him, I will admit I probably died like a good 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 different times, because he's very strong, especially when it comes to the kind of Pokemon that he has on his team and the kind of moves that they also have as well. And it took me a while to beat him, but he definitely did have a team that packed the punch when I was going up against him for the very first time, because Red's team consists of like a lot of high level Pokemon, so you're not going to expect any Pokemon that are like level 50s or 60s or 70s. Like, he actually has a lot of his Pokemon around level 80, and he has Pokemon such as Pikachu, which is pretty much his ace. Then you have Espeon, Snorlax, Venusaur, Charizard, and Blastoise. And each member of his team is strategically chosen to just cover various types and moves, presenting a well-rounded and challenging battle for any player playing the game. And the sheer strength alone and the diversity of Red's team just requires players to bring their best strategies and Pokemon to the fight. I actually did have to switch around like a few Pokemon because, like I mentioned, I didn't really know what I was walking into. So I had to rethink my strategy multiple times when I was going up against Red, which actually leads me to the next topic that I do want to discuss, the whole difficulty and strategy that came with the overall Pokemon battle with Red to begin with. Because when it comes to a lot of Pokemon battles within the series, Trainer Red is known to be like one of the toughest Pokemon battles within the series itself, because like I mentioned before, he has a Pikachu, which is his ace of the team, and it's his highest level opponent within his team itself. So even though you expect a Pokemon like yours to take it out, it's not. I mean, that Pikachu is going to wipe the floor of you just based on the durability alone of that Pokemon, which is why a lot of people often employ, you know, strategies such as like leading with a ground type Pokemon to encounter Pikachu, because as we know, electric types are weak to ground type moves. So obviously that would be the best decision to make when you're going up against Pokemon like that. And then of course he has a Charizard on his team, so you would expect to use some sort of strong water type Pokemon against him when it comes to a lot of these different kinds of water type moves that it could use against Charizard. Like if you wanted to use Hydro Pump or any other move within your arsenal to take the Charizard down. And it's always good to just prepare ahead of time when it comes to creating a balanced team, and also just utilizing effective type mashups, which are very crucial to overcome Red's powerful lineup when you're going up against him. Because as long as you think things out right, and as long as you're planning things accordingly, then you probably shouldn't have that much issues with Red. But the thing about me is I always love a challenge, so I always love putting myself in that position where it's like, okay, this may be a win and lose scenario, so I want to go all out. Like, I want to feel that difficulty as I'm playing this fight. So even though I might have like a good 2 to 3 Pokemon fainted, sometimes I'm like, you know what? I really want to see where this is going to go as I'm going up against Red, because I just like that whole thrill within the battle itself, which was very entertaining to me when I was playing through this fight for the very first time. And another thing I do want to mention as well when it comes to this Pokemon battle is the whole atmosphere and music that is introduced to us as we're going through this Pokemon battle, because it's not like you're fighting on a route where there's a whole bunch of grass around, and it's not like you and Red are like walking inside of a Pokemon gym and you're going up against each other. Like, the atmosphere and the music alone really makes the battle feel like one of the most epic things ever that you've ever experienced before in any Pokemon game, just based on the kind of environment and music that Game Freak decided to add within this Pokemon battle. Because the atmosphere of the battle with Trainer Red is unmatched, because you have to talk about like the snowy, silent environment of Mount Silver, just adding the tension to the battle. And you also have that unique and intense battle music that just elevates the experience, which is why I always appreciate music and video games, because it always elevates every moment as you're playing through that game, and it just makes the players feel the energy of that encounter, like they're actually put into the game itself and they're experiencing everything that is happening at that very moment. And this combination of the setting of where the battle takes place and the soundtrack just creates a memorable and dramatic showdown that players will cherish for ages, which is why it's one of the most memorable battles of all time within the Pokemon series. Now I want to talk about the legacy of Red as well, because Red has been there like ever since the very beginning. I mean, he is the one that we played as to start off our Pokemon adventure for the very first time within the Kanto region. And there's just so many different things to say about this character just based on how important he's been ever since the very beginning stages of the Pokemon series. Because the battle at Red just left a lasting impact on players, because many people recall the shock and excitement of encountering him for the first time, seeing things like how they couldn't believe that they were fighting the hero from the original games. And the battle alone is often cited as a favorite moment within the Pokemon series, just highlighting the enduring legacy of Red as a beloved character. And when it comes to other battles with champions like Cynthia and Steven, who are also known to be very challenging as well, the encounter at Red just stands out just due to his team composition and the surprise element of finding him on top of Mount Silver. And the battle is just unique in its intensity and the nostalgic connection players have with Red, just making it a standout experience within the Pokemon series. Because when we saw Red again in Pokemon Gold, it just set a high bar for future battles within the series, and his legacy even continued in games like Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver when it came to the remake, and his influence is also seen in Pokemon Sun and Moon, where players can also play against him once again, just showcasing his enduring presence and importance within the Pokemon universe, as I mentioned throughout this video, just to show how important this character is overall. And I just really wanted to make this video today just talking about like why this battle with Red was one of the most memorable experiences within the Pokemon series, because there's so many people that you can talk to that they can share their story when they first came in contact with Red on Mount Silver. Like, it's just one of those things that you run into as you're playing these games where you're like, I never really expected this to happen, but then once it happened, and once I went through that Pokemon battle and I was going up against Trainer Red, it just became one of my favorite moments ever within the Pokemon series, just based on the intensity alone, that just really made me feel like I was there in that very moment, experiencing that Pokemon battle with Red the entire time. Because I just love how much that fight really made you feel like you were there in that very moment, and that's what made it so special, and that's just what made it stand out to be a very memorable experience within the Pokemon series. So that's why I wanted to make this video, to just show the importance of that battle, and to also just share my overall experience with Red when I was going up against him as well, because I wasn't really prepared at first, but once I learned, and once I went back to him again, and once me and him actually put on a fight between each other, that's when things started to feel really intense. And then that's when I just started falling in love with it, and I can honestly go back at it at any time and just fight Red over and over and over again. Even though you only have one chance to do it, I can always start a new game and play through it all over again when it comes to Pokemon Heart Gold, or if I want to go back to Pokemon Gold or Silver. Like, I can always go back at that very moment and experience that, because it's just a very memorable experience, and it's hard not to think about that legendary fight with Trainer Red. Other than that, that's honestly all I have to really say in this video. So if you guys have any thoughts of your own when it comes to your own personal experiences when you guys went up against Red for the very first time, be sure to let me know down below, because I'm very curious to hear your experiences as well. Like, I would absolutely love if you guys shared your stories with me as well, so be sure to let me know down below. And if you guys enjoy this video, as always, be sure to like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And also, if you guys want to follow me on my social media, be sure to check out my Twitter, my Instagram, my TikTok, and my Facebook page. All of that is located in the description below. And also be sure to click on that bell for notifications so you guys are aware of whenever I upload a video on the channel. But other than that, I hope all of you guys are having a fantastic day, wherever the day may be, if it's the daytime, the nighttime, or the evening. And I'll see you guys in the next video. As always, peace out.